Hi, I'm Kelly with citruscycles.ca, and this is the Scott eAspect 720 electric mountain bike. It has the Bosch performance line mid-drive, and I'll talk more about the Bosch mid-drive in a few moments. It's one of my favorite e-bike drive systems, and as you can see from the tire size here, it's a 27.5 or 650B as it's sometimes known. Hardtail, we've got the front RockShox on the front for suspension and hardtail for the rear. So this, as in all of Scott products, a really well put together bike, a lot of thought put into it, and I'll just go over some of the specs here with you. We'll start at the top. I mentioned this is the Bosch mid-drive, and one of my favorite bike e-drive systems. It has the Intuvia display here, and you can see on the Intuvia you get an indicator of your battery that's remaining, your current level of assist, and that can be adjusted here on the handlebars by pressing the plus, moves it up to tour, to sport, and to eco, or minus goes back down. There's a little indicator here that actually shows you the amount of power that the bike is providing as you pedal, and your current speed, and down here some trip information. So right now it's a clock. If I press the I button, either on the display here or over here on the handlebars, you'll see it cycles through a few different things, such as the maximum speed, the average speed, the trip time, and one of my favorite things about the Bosch system is the range. And so on Eco you can see we've got 42 miles remaining, and I'm going to go into the settings and adjust that to kilometers in just a few moments, and I'll also fix the clock. And that range adjusts based on what level of assist you're in. So in Tour I get 21 miles, on Sport I get 17, and on Turbo I'm down to 15. Now those are miles, and the battery is not nearly fully charged, so the range is really actually quite impressive. In fact, typically on eco mode you can get 100-120 kilometers depending on your riding conditions. And most people are going to ride probably in the tour mode, and then I usually see about 60 kilometers or so. So a really good range is available on the Bosch system, and they've got a really intelligent battery management system in there. So you've got the Intuvia display here, you've got the control panel here. You can see we've got the battery mounted onto the frame, and I like having the battery in the frame here instead of on the rear on the rack, because it puts the weight right in the middle. So it's a really well balanced bike. And I'll just pop over the other side here. You can see that it has a ABUS locking core here, so you need the key to get the battery off. And you can charge the battery on the bike here just by opening up this flap and plugging in there, or use the key, take the battery off the frame, and you can charge it. It is almost 400 watt hours. They call it a Power Pack 400. I think it's technically 396 watt hours or something like that, but that's close enough. And because you're using the mid-drive, although you may find e-bikes that have more bigger battery packs, which of course is going to add to the weight, you'll actually find that because the mid-drive is so efficient, you can actually go further with a smaller battery on a mid-drive than you can, say, with a rear hub motor. So the Bosch performance line, like I said, fantastic drive system. There's a number of benefits to using a mid-drive. First of all, you've got your weight in the middle of the bike instead of on the rear wheel or the front wheel like a hub motor would. But also with a mid-drive, you are driving the chain here rather than the wheel. And so that means that you can actually leverage your cassette by taking advantage of your gearing so that the motor is driving the chain, which is in effect being influenced by the gear that you're in. Whereas with a hub motor, it's basically just turning the wheel, and it doesn't matter what gear you're in, that doesn't affect the motor, that only affects your pedaling. With the direct drive, that actually affects the motor, and so you've got a lot of hill climbing. Specifically to Bosch, with their mid-drive, you've got a lot of torque. So if you've got hills, if you're mountain biking and you've got some pretty big hills like we have around here, that torque is going to come in really handy. The Bosch system is also super responsive. I think they calculate like 1,000 times per second your torque, which is the amount of force you're putting on the pedal, so how hard you're pedaling. Your cadence, so how fast you're pedaling, and there's also a magnet speed sensor here, so it calculates your speed, and it calculates all those 1,000 times a second. And basically, the way I experience it and I describe it to people is it's reading your mind. It's like an extension of your legs, just very more powerful. So as you pedal, it knows how much power you need. It's not going to give you more than you need in a dangerous situation, trying to get around corners up a hill, for example. It's just going to give you exactly what you need. So that's the really nice thing about the Bosch system. While we're down here, you can see we've got the Fsa Cranks. We've got some Wellgo C128 pedals that are included. You may want to upgrade the pedals, and you can do that on our website, citruscycles.ca, if you wish. But they're actually pretty decent, nice and grippy. One of the things I like about the attention to detail that Scott puts into their bikes, for example, we've got a little bit of bash guard here, and that's actually metal, probably aluminum. I'm not sure, it's maybe steel, but it's very durable. On some of the other Bosch bikes that we have, it's plastic, and that doesn't stand up that well to sticks and things like that. But this is a really nice solid bash guard. While we're down here, they've also included a nice chainstay protector. Again, that came with the bike, so that's a really nice feature. Of course, we've got the Shimano Dior SLX derailleur on the back here, and a 10-speed cassette, so it'll give you lots of hill climbing power. These are the Schwalbe Tough Tom with the K-guard, and they're part of the active line, so that's nice. It gives you a little bit of extra puncture resistance. In fact, so far, my only complaint about this bike is that the tube, it uses a Presta valve here, but it's not a removable valve core. So one of the first things I usually like to do if I'm keeping tubes on a bike is to put some stands in there. So I'd have to put in different tubes, which isn't a big deal, and maybe I'll look at going tubeless with this bike as well. So these are the 27.5-inch tires, as I mentioned, or the 650B, and that's nice on a mountain bike. It gives you a little bit more, a bigger tire size than, say, a 26-inch tire. And so going over rocks and roots and stuff like that, you with the bigger tire, you have more contact area, more traction. It's easier to roll over big objects, but rather than going all the way up to 2.9er, the 27.5 or the 650B gives you a little bit more agility, especially around corners and things like that. So it's a nice in between. Instead of the smaller bumpy ride on a 26 or the less agile on a 29, the 27.5 is kind of a middle ground type of setup. So it's a nice size for riding. Back up here to the top, you can see we've got a remote lockout on our RockShox front suspension fork. So I can lock it out or turn it on. And that is, see here, yeah, just the RockShox. And you see it is an air shock, so we can adjust the air there, and there's a rebound control on the bottom here as well. The grips, they're locking synchros grips, which is nice. Sometimes that's overlooked, to the grips being used, and lockers, of course, are really important. And actually, I really like them. They're nice. They're got a little bit of a bulge here to make it more comfortable for riding. We've got the Shimano hydraulic disc brakes here, and it looks like we've got a 1 or 2 finger levers here, which is nice to have the shorter levers on a mountain bike. We do have the visual indicator for your gears with the Shimano system, and of course we've got the bidirectional shifters. You can either push or pull to shift here, the further one there. Going back to the seat here, we've got a Synchros seat. It's actually a decent, fairly technical seat. Just again, the attention to details with the little things. We've got markers on the seat post there. They included, when this bike came in the box, the seat was already installed. So was the front tire, incidentally, which makes it really interesting, really easy to get it set up. The clamp here on the seat post, this is actually a good quality seat post clamp. We've had some bikes in where after a few months we've had to replace those because they're using cheaper aluminum shims in there, and they just get bent out of shape and won't hold the seat post properly. So a nice attention to detail on the seat post clamp there. We also have braze-ons here, so we could actually put a rack on, which you may want to do if you're using this bike as a commuter or to get groceries or that sort of thing. So that's a nice feature that they've included. And I forgot to mention while we were down here looking at the mid-drive, this is interesting. The way Scott built this, the frame down here, this is actually all aluminum. And on some of the other Bosch bikes we've seen, they make the part around the battery here at the bottom plastic. So with being aluminum, it's definitely going to be a lot more durable, and that's nice to see in a bike like this where you're going to be going off-road and you're going to be doing some rocks and roots and that sort of thing. Forgot to mention the rock shock here. We have 100 millimeters of travel, and it's the Solo Air spring, so a decent amount of travel on a bike this size. You also have the air spring adjustment guide, which is cool to see on there, that you can you don't have to find where you put the manual or go online to find that. A few other things we'll notice here is that the cables run through the frame really well. Job design on that. Again, some of the other Bosch bikes, and we're starting to see a trend towards integrating the cables, but some of them we see still running down the side or underneath the battery, and it's nice to see them in the body like that, nice and clean out here with some integrated ties right onto the frame. So all in all, it's a really well put together bike. I love the colors. It's a nice size, and that Bosch direct drive, of course, or mid drive, is a fantastic motor to use. If you have any questions about this bike or any of the other e-bikes that we carry, just give us a call or send us an email, and check out our next video, which will be a ride test.